Doing these series just to help parents raise healthy and whole children, so in the future we have really good candidates to choose from when it comes down to presidential elections. So we'll get into today's lesson. So today's lesson is about exposure and experiences. So a lot of who we are as adults comes from experiences we have as children. So you may learn your interactions with others from your neighbors, your parents, and your friends. You may learn about the world around you just based on your neighborhood and environment. And then you think about your future, and the perspective you have in that aspect is often shaped by your education and your school. So as parents, it is very important for you to be intentional about the experiences you give your child. Expose them to different cultures and people. Expose them to different places. Expose them to new experiences so they'll have a better perspective of the world. It is such a disservice as a parent to not give your child a chance to learn and grow in an atmosphere that's different than what they see every day. I remember when I was in college, I was 20 years old when I took my first flight on an airplane, and my parents did expose us to a lot of traveling within the United States, but that was my first time on a plane. So here I am at 20 years old, grown, and don't know how to find the gate to go for my flight. And the first flight that I did take was an 11-hour flight because I did fly international to study abroad in Italy when I was in college. But that experience alone at 20 years old, I knew opened my mind to so many possibilities and made me realize that the world is much bigger than your neighborhood and your backyard. So it's important for kids to have those experiences at a young age. And yes, I know it is expensive. I'm not saying take your 3-year-old to Italy tomorrow, but start exposing them to things outside of their general area. That could be a trip to the library. If you haven't taken your child to the library to look at different books, that's a way of exposure. That could be taking them to a different side of town than where you live to eat at a restaurant that may be a different culture of food that they haven't been exposed to. It's very, very important to do these things because it opens your child's mind to other people. It makes them more well-rounded when they're having interactions with other people. And then also as they grow older, it helps them to not be naive to certain things. In addition to exposing them to new culture and people, it's also important that you expose them to books, movies, TV shows, magazines, where they are clearly represented. So it is so important for a child to be able to see what they can become. And it's important for them to see people who look like them, who have become successful and been able to achieve some of the same things that they want to achieve. I remember growing up, people always said, oh, reach for the stars. You could be president. You could be president one day. But we had never had a black president. So yes, it sounded good, and yes, I kind of believed it, but it wasn't until I was 19 years old and Barack Obama actually made the ballot and then actually became president that it was like, oh my gosh, a light bulb went off. We could actually be president one day. And after that, I made it a point, once he got elected the second time, to go to the inauguration. I just remember being in that atmosphere and being in that crowd and everybody being so like energized and full of hope because we actually got to see representation. Someone who looks like me is holding the highest office in the land. So it's important to show children, expose them to people who look like them or come from where they come from, who have had some level of success in their life. And it doesn't have to be as big as the president. If somebody who you know grew up in your neighborhood became a nurse or a doctor or a teacher, let your child shadow that person or talk to that person about their journey to get some more ideas on what they could possibly do to succeed in the future. I also recently had the opportunity to sit down with Sonia Manzano, who played Maria on Sesame Street. And if you were an avid Sesame Street watcher like I was, you know exactly who Maria is. She was actually on Sesame Street for 44 years, y'all. Since the 60s up until recently in the 2000s, she retired from Sesame Street. But we talked a lot about the Sesame Street programming. She actually shared with me that Sesame Street's target audience was low-income children, which I had no idea of that fact, but it was because they wanted to expose children who are in households where they may not have picked up on certain literacy skills. They wanted to expose those children to the same skills their white peers or their much more economically stable peers were getting in their household. So exposing them to the words, phonetics, spelling, numbers, and counting, so that when they enter school, they will be on the same level as their peers. Oh my gosh, when I heard that, I was like, oh my gosh, it makes so much sense why Sesame Street program was so literacy driven. And I just remember learning all that stuff and thinking that everybody knew it. Lastly, don't forget, children become what they see. So make sure you are showing them something worthwhile. I hope you guys enjoyed this lesson. I enjoyed making it. If you go over to JasmineChanel.com and click the Raising a President's tab, you'll see this lesson detailed out with a worksheet and also a summary of the lesson. Click it and you can download the PDF version of it and have it ready at your fingertips. The worksheet actually walks you through on how to plan to expose children to new activities and experiences by creating a plan for the week. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.